Making a video. Yay. Maybe. Anyway, so I just thought I'd respond. Anaconda Vod made a melancholy style video. Reflective. A little bit anyway. But the fundamental difference between us, this kind of huge is a difference. Can't get more different in a way. It's like this, risk averse versus gain obsessed or something. He, diminishes the value of the bad parts of life, the suffering, tries to make it go away, use perspective to minimize its importance, its significance, and maximize, in some sense, that there's something real to be accomplished in having your little adventure here on Earth, your ambitions and your cheese eating. Where I would be the opposite and say the thing easy to diminish in your brain, the thing to evacuate yourself of, easiest, the thing to shit out of yourself, the easiest is your desire. A little bit of perspective and it all seems quite silly. And the more you think about the suffering, especially the amount of it and the amount of it experienced by everything around you, the volume of the weight of it, especially the extremes of it. All the stuff you hear on the news, that's happening to real people. And it just happens not to be you, which is really cool, because you definitely wouldn't want some of that shit happening to you. And that's the part that, if you think about it, it can hurt. It can be tough on your brain to find excuses and justifications. I've used the word, unacceptable, and played with it in the sense that nobody really takes that word very seriously. But I would argue that it's unacceptable. This isn't just not good enough. I can say that, and it means something to some people, doesn't mean anything to other people. And that's sort of what the story's about, is the fact that they do find it all acceptable because we're having fun, some sort of way. We're accomplishing something in writing our little story of our life, and endeavoring to persevere and accomplish something, and blah 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 blah, or maybe accomplish nothing, but being able to say, well, I didn't fuck up as bad as that guy, and saying that's a profit, that's winning. Winning is not being the biggest loser. Where I would say there's no winning, even in being the biggest winner. The biggest winner is going to be a loser, one way or another. Probably. I mean, there are some people like, Scalia, I'll just bring that up since it's in the news, got away easy. He's a guy who really deserved to have the screws turned hard, because he was so glib about other people's circumstances. My opinion. He got off way too easy. But, what's the point of learning a lesson when it's too late to do anything about it? So that's another one of those arguments. No point at all. So, I'm just saying, if there was a dying in your sleep to go around, it should be given to those who earned it, not the ones who didn't. That kind of thing. The loss minimizers, should be the ones spared, not the gain maximizers. The profiteers, the ones who took the risk, should be the ones paying the prices. They should be pulling the short straws at the end anyway. if deserve had something to do with this silly game being played. So anyway, is there some way to make the argument that there's something more rational in understanding the superficiality of our desire and the significance of the suffering paid for it? Not only other human beings, yourself, you pay some price for your profit. You know, you might be lucky and have good chromosomes and good health, and you take care of a few things, so you minimize your losses personally, and you're careful in your acquiring of your profit. Frugal in your your effort to become wealthy in experiential profit. But still, there's a price on the other people kind of thing, the whole capitalism thing, the exploitation thing. Humans will pay a price for this. They'll have to be born with defects and all kinds of other shit and blah, blah, blah. And then you have the whole biosphere, the, you know, zillions of other mammals with conscious brains living just eek, ouch, horror lives, you know, short and miserable. And, you know, torturous, you know, elements of just absolute, can't do that, it's just too horrible. Hurts to even think about that kind of stuff. The eaten alive kind of things and such, or the half-eaten alive. Anyway, so yeah, is there an argument you can make to people who are obviously disposed to be the opposite perspective, and make them have some appreciation for their, you know, the fact that they're really not thinking about their desire in any kind of rational context. And there's so many ways you can sort of see it in people. I mean, just, you know, you think about weddings, you know, this is a big deal for young women and such, and it's just so irrational, just on its face. You know, this idea of let's spend a big giant wad of money on one day, as if you know, realistically that's going to be able to carry you through the rest of your life in a realistic way. And it's such a limited experience. I mean, it's not like going to Europe and visiting the Louvre and the Leaning Tower and, you know, sucking in a bunch of knowledge and culture or history or something. It's not like going to college, you know, but it's just as expensive. You know, you just, what's the sense of this one day, all this waste for this one experience? It just doesn't, it's hard to make it make any sense rationally. You know, the more you write it down on a piece of paper, all the liabilities of it, even the risk of it. Oh, it could rain, or you could be sick, or something else. You know, everything goes all wrong. Somebody gets drunk, and, you know, the risk of it even coming off correctly. Why put so many eggs in such a shitty, useless basket? Kind of a thing. But yeah, you can do that with, like, just about every element of your narrative, the theme of your story, you know, whether you're doing the Goldilocks, let's get some porridge, or the Red Riding Hood, let's go have a visit with Grandma, or whatever the fuck it is you're after. And then you're after in that narrow context where you're, yeah, there's a little bit of the short-term little stuff, you know, the little gratifications, the little comforts and discomforts. You know, a nice movie, watching a movie, something, you know, pleasurable but not extremely wonderful. So certainly those things have some value, but their value is mostly in that they're not horrible when you really think about it. it's just passing time in a sense, and it won't last very long, and then you'll just be back to, chewing the regular gristle, the less flavorful meal of regular life. And if you're like most people are going to become soon enough, you're stuck in a shitty job, a shitty wage. You're sort of beat up by just surviving so much that you're really not even going to do much of that. You're not going to be able to take much for granted, because you're not going to have much to take for granted. So, you won't even be guilty of not appreciating your advantages. Eek. It's scary to even think about it. Yes, well, you're better off than somebody with, diagnosed with cancer today, but man, is it really that much better off? Eek. So, so I guess you can go through all of these things we do in life, these experiences, and I could make videos just explaining how. Oh, come on, it's 10 minutes. That's how long did it really last? How much work was it really to get there? Was it really something you needed in any kind of real way, or was it just because of the story you've written? You have some sort of idea that it's important, because it's all a head game. This gets all back to all the way to heroin church often, because you always just really can't get that part that your capacity to in these goal things, these I feel inadequate, or I feel some sort of as if you're doing some kind of comparing it to the Jones thing. You're doing this chasing of the medal. You're chasing something so it doesn't mean anything. It's just a perception of your worth, and you've placed your perception of the value of the experience on this knowledge. How's a good way to say it? You can almost see it with, like, say, food. Because somehow people, if I tell them this is beluga caviar or something, that's somehow going to mean something. I could really just manufacture it out of absolute crap, and as long as it looks something like it, it tastes something like it, they'll be fooled, and they'll think, oh, what a wonderful experience. And it was really instead of a $50 experience, it was a 5-cent experience. So it's all just kind of a head game, just your perception that you're making love to. And so sort of you can see it in that a lot, is that we feel a different way based on the perception of whether or not we've gotten where we want to be in a relationship or some other kind of thing, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the actual physical process. It just has to do with this thing in your head about what it represents. That's where it can, you can really just see it's just perception. It's not so much about the crude physical fact of it. It's what you think is happening, not so much about what actually is happening. But that's sort of what we're built to do. We're built to be competitive. We're built to measure ourselves against these elements of things in the environment, these whatever you call them, lampposts or whatever, these signposts that tell us we're on the right road, or tell us that we're winning, or whatever. And we sort of need those to be there. And if they're not there, then we somehow think it's not real, or not good enough, or we haven't done something, we're undone. And we diminish our own capacity to enjoy things based on those negative perceptions, based on that attitude. I guess you could say that attitude gets in our own way. And I'm not saying I'm above any of this, don't get me wrong. Certainly I get depressed over bullshit. And you say, geez, of all the things to run you down, something stupid like that ran you down. I mean, you couldn't do your head game and get above that. You couldn't, do better, think better. And it's very hard to do. So I mean, that's how owned we are by this nature of our ego and the what we've been conditioned into. And that is the sad, tragic part of it. A lot of it is just cultural conditioning that puts us in these horrible frames of mind about what it is to be a winner and all that kind of crap, because of the messages that have been put in our heads. And they just really don't go away in some ways. You just can't break some of that stuff easily. Conditioning is, a real... you got to get into the wiring of your brain, so to speak. It's not just a software issue. It can't be corrected by running a program. A thought program isn't going to fix it. It's got to be an experience program to fix it. That's more complicated. The conditioning. So, so I guess it gets into such psychology that people have to be willing to start, picking at psychology and understanding how it's a trap and that so much of it is just crap. And I think even the recognition of that will give you at least the philosophical perspective to understand the traps you're falling into, and to understand that you fear death because it's the ego death that you fear. It's the sense that it just can't work without you. You're kind of vital, and that this other stuff isn't doing it well enough. Different kinds of perceptions like that give you a notion that it needs to be preserved, or needs to be fixed, or needs to endure, when it doesn't really need to do any of that. You certainly don't need to do any of that in any real sense. You just need it you perceive it to be important, but you can't rationally make it understandable as important. I guess that's what I'm sort of saying. We go based on what we feel about it, and our feelings are such a lie. They're not telling us the truth. They're not appropriately weighting the stuff that we are seeing and understanding. And so, but like I said, once you know that trap exists, then you can see yourself being selfish and vain and all these negative things that not negative on an emotional level. I just mean negative as elements of philosophy, negative as ways of understanding the truth. Your egoic emotions will not tell you the truth, nor will your sensations that you've attached to cheese. It's a lie, and it's a lie built into the nature of the organism to make it do what we do, which is fight to win. Like I said, once you understand you're being gamed, it's pretty easy to at least raise your hand and say, yes, I wouldn't vote for it. Okay, I'm in the game. I want to play it. We've loaded the software. We're running it on the computer. Let's play the fucking game. But let's not sell it to anybody else. Let's not hook anybody else on the drug. Kind of like smoking. Once you're addicted, and for some of us, it's like, I might as well just live it out, because it's unpleasant to do it some other way. change. So yeah, accept what you are. So yeah, you can say, yeah, okay, I'm an animal. I wasn't raised to understand that, but I do understand it now. I'm just a stupid, dumb animal. That my nature has, makes me a player, but there's nothing intelligent in it, and it comes at this horrendous price of suffering that will be endured to play the game. The game board is, woven, out of threads of horror. Really is quite horrid. But that's not how you start the game, right? Because the people who have kids are people who are just hyping and selling. They're so caught up in the game, and so they propagandize and manipulate, and don't tell you the truth. That you're just a troubled animal playing a fundamentally horrid game for a very narrow and kind of sick personal gratification. And that's not really a great thing to write on your "I was here" token. It's not something wonderful to write on a note and stick in the bottle and throw into the ocean of the universe and say, yeah, this is my experience. I lived a dumb life because I was a dumb animal. And even, well, again, there is some value in recognizing it, though. Certainly it doesn't make playing any easier, but it's the only way out. It's the only escape for the future. There's a willingness for people to be real about it now and to recognize the untenable position it is to have to explain to a child the truth, to tell them the truth. You're just a selfish cunt. You're going to basically sink other people's boats to keep yours afloat. You're going to consume horror in other beings' condition for your gain. You're going to take pain and suffering out of the world and convert it into a silly smile on your face. And that's going to be your wonderful accomplishment of your stupid fucking life. If you win, you will make losers. You can't play a safe enough game. You can't play a good game unless you're going to be piling a bunch of bricks on your back and having a really tough go of it. The only way to play a really good game is to basically be a janitor, basically be consumed by the work. Yeah. And so, yeah, tell that to a kid. Tell them the truth. And then you'll realize if you had to do that, if you had to wise them up, you'd say, this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to have to tell a kid that. And so it's unacceptable to have children. You can't tell children the truth, therefore they shouldn't be created. So, because it's just unacceptable to lie. So those are your circumstances. The truth isn't acceptable. It's untenable as a viable gift. You can't possibly give it to somebody as a gift. Lie is what it is. It's just that's a horrible cop-out to lie. So there's just no viability. This isn't an acceptable game. No. And, I wish people like Anna Konovad, when they'd have their more, they're less aggressively desirous moments, to do a little reflecting on the fact that maybe all that crap where they think they're going somewhere and doing something is just that crap, and that selling tickets on the good ship crap or the bad ship crap really isn't much of a thing to do with your life. Yeah, reflect on that. But like I say, he's in a position now where he probably can't do that, because then he'd have to admit that he stepped in some shit by having a kid. Big pile of shit. Big pile of shit for which he has no control, no solution. I wonder if he'll have the guts to tell him the truth. Because he's going to have to include in there, I was an asshole. And he probably doesn't have the guts to say that. An arrogant, obnoxious, pig-headed, silly, glib cunt. Yes. Let's see if he has the ability to say that truth to his son. But anyway, yeah, that's enough of a video. And until the next time and such. Yeah, really, it's upbeat, wasn't it? That was fun, huh? That was a fun video. Yeah, that was fun. Let's do more of those. Like visiting the prison. Or the leper colony. Yeah. Yeah, good times.